From scenic Aurora, Illinois, we are inside of Parkside Lanes, and we are getting ready for our second title to be decided here at the FloBowling PBA Summer Swing PBA Bear Open Finals, about ready to begin. I'm Phil Breiler, with me PBA Hall of Famer Chris Barnes. And Chris, another chance for a player to repeat with a title year after year. Simonsen didn't pull it off the other night. EJ Tackett trying to do it here tonight.
Well, and there's a reason. These guys, some centers you just match up well to. And then we did have some similar patterns from year over year, and that plays into it as well. But, I mean, the other thing is these two guys are great players. And so they're showing back up. They got a great feel for the lane, and we had a heck of a finish just to get to these five.
Yeah, Kyle Sherman and Wes Malott, they're going to be in our opening match. They're barely holding on to those 4 or 5 spots. That's going to be an interesting battle. And then we get up at the winner of that match is going to advance. Jason Belmonte with a very unique take on the lanes today.
Well, typically Jason is the furthest one left on the lane going around him, and today he moved to the right and used urethane the whole time. It was the only player in the finals that used urethane in the cashier's round on the way above the guys that are on the show. It'll be interesting to see if he uses that strategy or he uses reactive and gets left of everybody like we're used to seeing.
Yeah, and the hottest guy in the building this week by far, Anthony Simonsen. He's sitting in the number 2 seed, winning in the wings. And Simonsen, if he wins, he might get past Tackett, I think, just so you have all that momentum going at once.
I don't know about that. EJ has been on fire, but Anthony has had all his tools working. He was one of the first guys to find that little slot around 11-12, and he just made it work when everybody was playing the left gutter. And so his touch is really on point right now. He will be a prohibitive favorite in the overall Illinois Open, but today he's got the big guns coming after him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then, of course, our top seed, EJ Tackett. A little more pressure for Tackett because it's not just about the title. Those USBC Cup points are huge right now, and he has a chance to get himself possibly back in the first place tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on, and then with the final still to go, obviously they all want to win. We have a great show coming your way.
Yeah, let's get the Kirk Von Kruger for the introductions of the players for tonight's Stepladder Finals.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the FloBowling PBA Summer Swing. This is the PBA Bear Championship. It's now my pleasure to introduce our 5 finalists for this evening's competition. The number 5 seed. He won his first career title when he captured the Lucy Mixed Doubles in Houston earlier this summer. From O'Fallon, Missouri, please give it up for Kyle Sherman. He'll be facing a 10-time titleist with 1 major championship. He was the 2008-2009 PBA Player of the Year. From Pflugerville, Texas, Wes Malott. The winner of that first match will go on to face the number 3 seed, 22 career titles, including 11 majors. That is a PBA record. He's a 4-time PBA Player of the Year from Australia, Jason Belmonte. The winner will advance to face the number 2 seed, 4 PBA Tour titles, including 2 majors. From Little Elm, Texas, Anthony Simonsen. In our final match, the number 1 seed only has to win 1 game to take home the 2019 PBA Bear Open Championship. He has 13 PBA titles, including 2 majors. He was the 2012 PBA Rookie of the Year and the 2016 PBA Player of the Year. From Bluffton, Indiana, EJ Tackett. These are your finalists for this evening's competition.
And the players here in the Stepladder Finals, there you see that opening match, Malott versus Sherman. Winner advances to Belmonte. Semifinal, Anthony Simonsen waiting in the wings, and EJ Tackett technically looking to go back to back to back as he won this Bear title in 2016. Was not held as an event in 2017, and he was our winner last year at the FloBowling Fall Swing on the Bear. It's tough enough going back to back, but 3 times in a row, that's Jason Couch territory last time I checked. It's the last guy I can remember going back to back to back on titles.
As far as I know, that sounds right.
Of course, a few more games for Mr. Tackett to accomplish that back to back to back as compared to what the TOC format was back in the early part of the decade here of the millennium. And here is Kyle Sherman. getting ready to start things off. Squeak of the heel, the delivery, and huge break early. Just leaving the 10.
As you see there, Kyle Sherman's total average for this bear pattern, 224.65. And, you know, he had a fierce battle coming down the stretch. He was in the show by 65. Wes was in by 71. Jacob Buttroff shot 259. EJ Johnson had a chance to shoot 259. Wes had 85 in the 6th. And Sherman had 150 in the 8th with a spare, shooting 190. These guys barely held everybody off. Wes threw a late 4-bagger to get himself in there, and Sherman was able to stay clean. EJ Johnson leaving a little shaker 7 in the 10th, which ended his chances. And then Jacob Buttroff left a stone 9 in the 8th frame that cost his 279 bid, which, as it turns out, would have locked him in the show.
Wes Malott, 4th place a couple of weeks ago at the Harry O'Neill Chesapeake Open in Virginia, and never projected that ball properly.
No, not what he wanted there. You see he's shaking his hand. He's a little pop of the wrist, probably at the bottom.
That gold ball has won a lot of money over the years for Wes Malott.
That is his blue blanket right there.
Oh,
he will go to that whenever he can, whenever the lanes are hooking enough. And talking to Sean Ryan earlier, he says it feels like the front is hooking quite a bit more and the back end is quite a bit tighter, and that's mostly, they're attributing it to Jason Belmonte throwing the highly surfaced pitch black, creating a little more friction in the front and then a little bit more carry down at the end of this 40-plus foot bear pattern.
yeah, it doesn't take long with the volume of oil in this pattern for it to get stretched out, does it, Chris?
No, and anytime you throw urethane, it kind of acts like a snowplow and just shoves it down the lane. So what you know, initially began at 41 feet is now pushing down to 43, 44 feet already.
So Sherman, not a lot of surface on that bowling ball. I would think when you see 28, 29 mils on a lane that you'd see players sometimes going to that real heavy grit early, but doesn't seem to be the case for either player here in this opening match.
Cal going with a GB3. Same ball he threw quite a bit during the qualifying rounds, not as much in the cautious round.
Second effort by the head pin as it fell in the flat gutter, and it kind of rolled off the 6 into the 10. Watch it again.
Yeah, normally you see the butt end of the pin swing around the other way back towards the pit. Not very often does the butt end go in the gutter and then the head of the pin knocks it over.
Even Wes getting a little laugh out of that one. You see in the background, I'm sure he's not going to be laughing for long because he's already down by 12 pins after 2 frames. Kyle Sherman was our leader after day 1 of qualifying for 8 games. He went plus 318 yesterday. His low game on the day yesterday was his opening game of 223. He did have a 222 in game 5, but nothing lower than 222 on this bear pattern. That's spectacular. Unfortunately, that didn't happen for him during Cash's round today.
Yeah, very solid this morning also in the second round of qualifying, but the Cashers round you saw a lot more different strategies, a lot less breakdown, and Kyle moved left really fast, and it didn't really develop that well, and some of the pairs were considerably tighter. So he had some struggles and had to really hang on and made some big shots down the stretch to hang in there.
Yeah, well, that 188 final game, just enough to keep EJ Johnson out of the stepladder by just 5 pins.
Better projection. Wes solidified his spot with a huge game down on the end pair, which had a lot of players pretty befuddled there in game 5. He shot 257, and he was a pair that was much tighter, had 2 left-handers start on it. Not a lot of breakdown in through the practice, and so players were getting fooled coming to that pair and being quite a bit right, and he put in a monster game to get himself in position.
Yeah, and Wes was on this pair
on, Wes. Let's go. Come on.
And struggled a bit during Game 6, where he had 194. Of course, this is a fresh application of the Bear pair before the Stepladder finals started. But does that sit in the back of Wes's mind a little bit?
Maybe slightly, but they are so much different now than they were by Game 6. Sherman was on this pair with him. The pair had broken down a little bit funny. I don't think this is sometimes one of the best pairs. It was also a very tricky pair during the Wolf Cashers round. So 2 missed 3-6-10s. You talk about something sticking in somebody's head. The first time he chops the 3 straight back, you obviously don't want to repeat the same mistake, and then it's wide right.
So Sherman, who won his first title earlier this summer at the Striking Against Breast Cancer mixed doubles with his partner Amanda Green.
Significant other. Ooh. Up by 26, a chance to really gap out there. A tricky 2-4-8. You see crossing about 22nd board. He expected that to pick up. He's walking away left. Generally speaking, when a player walks away left, that's a really good sign that he executed it like he wanted to.
This is his third Stepladder of 2019. His first one, you see his doubles partner Brad Miller back there when they made the Roth-Holman doubles and finished second. And he has career-high tour singles finish before his win in the mixed doubles. PBA Cheetah Championship, lost to Dick Allen in that title match.
Covers that with no issues. You lead at 24 pins.
Sherman was a 3-time collegiate All-American at Lindenwood University, and he's been in pressure situation in singles before as he took down the singles title in the 2014 Intercollegiate Bowling Championships.
He's got a great game, great footwork, not a lot of upper body movement. His swing stays straight. Just a lot of things that go right and allow him to bowl well on a lot of different types of patterns.
Six leans, no success, taking out the 10.
Generally speaking, this left lane will hook a little bit more, and you can see that one got to basically the same spot it did on the right lane. Made it off of it, just didn't get all the way back through. Ideally, you want that ball rolling forward just as it hits the head pin, and that was still trying to hook back. You get caught in mid-motion like that, you get a little more deflection. Ball doesn't go through them quite as well as you'd like.
You said the mid-motion there. Is that a tough adjustment when Sherman gets up next time on that lane to get rid of the half 10?
Well, there's a couple things he can do. He can move right, which almost no one under the age of 35 does nowadays. It's kind of a move that's been relegated to a previous era. So generally speaking, people either slow their speed down or go ahead and catch a little bit harder.
Hey, cut. Can't leave us sit here.
And we're going to see if Wes resets here. And that's a new, we'll talk about that in a second.
Pitch out.
I'm surprised Wes didn't start that whole shot process again because...
I am too. You could hear in the background our tournament director talking to Kyle Sherman. He has to stay in the settee area, and that's when body language tells the whole story there. That's a good two boards right at the arrows, and 2 turned into 5 or 6 pretty quickly down lane.
Is there a penalty to Kyle if it happens again? Do we know what? We know it's a rule now that they have to stay in the settee area, but has there been any type of penalty set up for that?
It's relatively new, so I don't know what it is. I think it's just a requirement that you do stay in there. I assume if you were to leave, then it would fall under a usual code of conduct type fine. And
yeah, we'll have to get some additional information on that between games with that new settee area rule. And that came into play right around the time of PBA playoffs in Portland.
Shot there.
Best shot of the match.
see the biggest difference. Wes is going with a little softer speed, a little more loft through the front, and also a little more axis rotation. So clearing the front, saving energy there, but that allows his ball to go through the pins a little bit better. Kyle going after it a little bit more in the front so he can use a little steeper angle, trying to get the ball to pick up sooner and then arc back through versus Wes going to a straight line and then more angle.
Keep the lead at 23. Nope. He looks surprised by the reaction down lane.
Yeah, that's a look. He actually did move right. You could see from where he stood. And when he did that, he got more up the back of it, trying to make the ball pick up sooner. And it went right by everything. And he's shocked. And to be honest, it didn't happen much. Even moderate rev rate players were seeing friction in that part of the lane. So pretty shocking to see that go by.
Oh, he could lose the lead here without a conversion.
There. Probably the most improved part of Kyle Sherman's game. Obviously, it's a guy who can throw a lot of strikes. He's not afraid to get after it, and grab it at the bottom. But watch here, crosses 21st board, basically just straight down the lane. Hit it down 19, cross 21, hit about 23 down there at the pins.
And a lot of people don't know about Kyle, if they're pretty new here to FloBowling, is he came back. It wasn't exactly a career-threatening hip injury a couple of years ago, but it was something that required surgery and a lot of rehabilitation for him to get back out here on tour.
I actually have the same thing he has. He had a torn labrum, and he had surgery on it. It was 4 months without throwing a ball, and then took a little while longer, obviously, for him to get back in shape. And we're just now seeing the best of what Kyle Sherman has to offer. He's 9 months post-surgery there, and he looks 100% now. And his shot repetitions have continued to improve. Like I say, maybe the biggest part of it is that his spare game has gotten considerably better, and that is bridging the gaps between all those strikes that he throws.
So Wes can knock his deficit down to just 9 pins. With a strike here, he likes it. You get that second foot kick from Wes, and you know it's good.
It's got a little Mark Roth to it there, where he throws it and get that extra kick. You know he's thrown the one he wanted to here.
It's hard to believe it's been 6 years since we've seen Wes in the winner's circle out here on the PBA Tour. Cheetah Championship in 2013 is his last title.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, he's been on a lot of shows, though. It's not like he's not been knocking on the door.
Right.
Gosh, it seemed like he was bowling against Belmonte about every other week in a major there for a little while.
Yeah, he does have a major to his credit, 2013 U.S. Open. Harsh.
I was going to say, just as he threw it a touch more forward than the last shot. Didn't quite get around it as much, and it still shaped the lane every bit as much as he wanted it to, but the 6-pin right around the bottom. Man. Now, when I say a little bit more forward, that's really micromanaging. Talking about less than 5 degrees of rotation.
Kyle Sherman leads by 10
Now,
pins.
that was the last time we saw Malott in the winner's circle. Was the Cheetah Championship in 2013, but he did win the Mark Roth doubles with Norm Duke in 2015 as well.
Pound for pound, the most differentiated team on tour.
And height as well, possibly?
Just all the way around.
Yeah.
It's strategies. All right. Up 10. Chance to extend the lead to 20.
Way left again. Is that going to work? Not even close.
That's a ball change, too. So this is the ball he used early on in qualifying in round 1, a black paradox, and move left. And the problem is when you move left, the last shot he's seen in his head is that GB3, and it basically hydroplaned in the mid lane unexpectedly, So it's going to be really hard for him to trust it and throw it right and know it's going to pick up.
And especially because the next time in this lane, it could be for the match. 10th frame, he's finishing on this right lane.
Not an ideal situation to have a little uncertainty if it comes down to that shot. Really difficult spare here. Lots of OB around 6, so he'll have to throw it fairly straight.
Just enough.
Yeah, that's when you know a player is really confident. When they're, you know, a big power player like this is not even going to attempt to hook into it. And he's confident in, with his spare game, to go ahead and try and make a double wood throwing it straight.
Now let's take another look at the conversion of the 3, 6, 9, 10. And
that's perfect. I mean, the ball hit 3 of the pins.
And with this bear pattern, it's tough because there's so much oil down the outside for 41 feet. You don't know exactly what it's going to do when it's crossing where the guys have blown it open.
Well, even the first day, we saw multiple guys in the top 10 throw gutter balls. And it seems crazy. I saw 2, probably 4 different times. You know, there's tons of OB once you really get it, you know, out there around 7, and you have to get it out there to make the 3, 6, 9, 10 if you hook at it. That's a ball change on both lanes. I didn't see that coming because he'd been striking on the left lane already.
And he cannot be shut out by Malott after that shot. And that was a good 5-board jump left with his feet.
I'm shocked that he did it after throwing strikes for the most part in the left lane. With only 1 shot there, that takes some stones. You have to show a little ticker to make that move.
I was ready to call it a veteran move on top of it, too. Wes likes it. Wes really likes it.
Boy, oh boy. That was good.
And you mentioned that little Mark Roth thing before, and he was this year's Mark Roth MVP as the member of the winning Portland Lumberjacks Elias Cup team for the PBA League in Portland, Maine. Wes has stepladder final he made in Chesapeake. His other stepladder final this year was 3rd place finish in the Gold Bowling Indianapolis Open, where he lost to Norm Duke in the semifinal
10
match.
needs this one.
Half 10. It's not over, but it's going to take a huge mistake by Sherman.
Well, spare strike's still super important. He actually spare at least 9 will make Sherman mark in the 10th frame.
There's the easy part. Now getting 10 or 9, either way.
Yeah, he knew he got it just a touch right of where he wanted to and wasn't sure. Good shot.
Nice to know the knees are in good shape for him, though.
Yeah, I know. He looks better. He's lost a little weight again, and you know, he did hurt his back there early in a while, but it looked like he just kept getting better and better as he went. That's a big trip 4 right there. That leaves him a little bit of hope. Sherman has not hit the pocket on this right lane since early in the match.
Sherman's lead is 11. Now bowling 10 strokes.
Sherman's last 3 counts on this lane: 7, 6, and 6.
And I'm no expert, but 6 1/3 is not ideal.
Leaves a lot of stuff that can be missed.
Mark to win.
Talk about kid clutch on that shot.
Offense Kyle Sherman is your winner in match 1. Please give it up one more time for Big Wes Malott.
Wes Malott, once again, not going to make his way into the winner's circle in a Gold Bowling PBA Tour event. And Malott really needed to get a win here tonight to move way up in the USBC Cup points. His chance of getting a part of that action might be going by the wayside with this 5th place finish. And you can't fault Sherman for trying another piece of equipment here.
No, you don't know when you might get another practice ball or another chance to try anything. So honestly, it'll probably be his last chance at a practice ball. unless he's able to get way ahead in the match. And judging by who's coming up next, not likely he's going to get a lot of free shots.
Wes Malott, 5th place. Kyle Sherman moving on, taking on Jason Belmonte. And we'll be back to talk a little bit about this match and take a look forward at the next one. Coming up next here, the FloBowling PBA Bear Open.
Sherman's final score 2-0-7. Coming up next, Sherman Belmonte. Also, fans, tell your friends and family back home to visit FloBowling.com and subscribe today for unlimited access to live streaming, plus the very best PBA tournaments and events all year round. Only on FloBowling.com. Join and subscribe today.
So here we go. Let's take a look at some of the key parts of last match. So you see Kyle Sherman finally getting things adjusted on the left lane.
Crucial ball change there in the 9th frame, and that's the one that sets up this winning shot.
Oh no, this is the bad shot in the 8th that he had to recover from. Made the ball change, stayed with it on that left lane. And now here's the big shot, Chris.
Yeah, this is the one that sealed the deal and gets him to advance on to face the #1 player in the world, Jason Belmonte.
And we've got Jason out here taking practice shots right now. We see urethane in Belmonte's hand. How is that going to affect what Kyle Sherman is doing out here on the lanes?
Well, the urethane acts like a snowplow as opposed to the reactive balls, which basically pick up oil and then keep it and take it off the lane. Urethane is much more where it just shoves it further down. So the amount of rev rate and surface that he has on it will pick more of it off. I mean, it will pick it off, basically push it from the front to the back of the lane. This 41-foot pattern comes 42, 43, 44. He'll make the front of the lane hook. He'll make the back of the lane tighter, and he makes those reactive balls, which is maybe the most accurate term for a bowling ball in the history, do just that. It will react to the friction in the front. It'll see the oil down lane, makes the lanes better for him, and it makes it worse for all the rest of them.
Now, it was interesting. We saw Kyle Sherman, once he got that strike to lock up that first match, switched to another bowling ball, and he moved even farther left. Is that trying to counteract the Belmonte influence?
I think that's just a move as a potential what if. He wants to throw that black paradox. That's what he got most of that giant score that very first day. I think the first 6 out of those 8 games, he threw that. And so he wants to throw that one. I imagine that's what we'll see until it basically, if it flat tens, then we'll see the other ball. Okay. And he can move left from there.
Belmonte finishing his practice, and once he's done, Belmonte will make his choice of starting lanes, and we'll get back for our second match here in the PBA Bear Open once practice is completed.
Can't wait to see it. I've talked to a lot of people that do. And I had always said that would be a great story to do. They said that's no problem. When I said it was 60,
so there you see the Stepladder finals. So far, Kyle Sherman 207, Wes Malott 191. Jason Belmonte in this next match. Anthony Simonsen waiting here in the wings for the winner of this match, and then EJ Tackett looking to go back to back to back on the Bear. And how do you handle it, Chris? You've had it plenty of times waiting in that #1 seed. It's never an easy thing to do. What do you do to handle things as you're waiting?
Well, you're watching things that go on and looking for anything unusual. Mostly if one lane starts to break down more than another, and if there's one lane that guys tend to prefer more than the other, both for your own sake and potentially if you don't care which lane, then you make them finish in the lane they don't like. But, you mentioned the back-to-back-to-back, and never one to let facts get in the way of a good story, but two of Couch's wins were actually long formats.
Oh, that's okay. You are correct. That's right.
So only one was actually extra frame length.
Yes.
The other 2 were actually
were the
4
full
times that long.
48 games. Yes.
Yeah.
So
56.
All right, Jason. Next time you see me, I know you're watching. I'll buy you a beverage. So,
We're getting ready to,
one of the greats is going to be taking his licks at the PBA 50 Tour
Jason
next
Belmonte,
season.
the number 3 seed, the higher seed.
He's welcome for that, too. I forgot to make a spare in one of those.
Bowling fans, how about a nice round
Let
of
him sneak
applause?
by and get the first one.
Match number 2.
And we shouldn't be surprised here.
Fans, do not be afraid to cheer for these bowlers just as soon as that ball's off the hand. Let's hear some noise. You're going to take all that applause and cheering home with you.
Well, in this case, I think Jason watched what was going on, and maybe he has the same reaction, maybe he doesn't, but he's going to make Kyle Sherman finish on that right lane, which certainly was his trouble lane, at least up until that game-clinching 10th frame.
Solid crowd in the building here again at Parkside Lanes in Aurora. Once again, I want to thank all of our sponsors. There's big banners all across the building, including High Five Gear, who was the official sponsor of the Pro-Am back on Saturday night. It's part of the game when you get a crossover, and now you just got to build on it.
So one of the things about the oil and the amount of oil down lane is it makes players throw stronger balls and keep their angles closer to the head pin. We saw an inordinate amount of Brooklyn's, especially on that wolf pattern, on that 32-footer. But we actually still saw quite a few on this pattern, which is a little more unusual typically.
Belmo looking for 23 career PBA titles, half those 22 being majors. Just throwing the rope. And it's not about, for people who are new to the sport, they like to see the ball hook for the pro players. A lot of times, that may not be the best reaction. Sometimes point A to point B can be the best thing.
Yeah, this is just more reason for the rest of the world to be scared. We already know what happens when he slides in left gutter. That he is the best player in the world when he can get in and create more room, and he's got better touch than all the other guys that do it. But if he's going to do that, and then when you're playing left, he can also beat you from the right.
Yeah. There is no board on the lane that's safe from Jason Belmonte anymore. Urethane reaction, flat 10.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the wood fell here particularly easily. I mean, you'd see some occasional scouts, and all the players that are making the shows here are relatively high rev rate, high speed players. But what you saw more often is unusual number of flat tens by the same guys that normally send the head pin flying over there.
And speaking of flying, into the gutter with the spare ball. Boy, and Belmo was just a split-making machine during Cash's round. Made a 210 and 4-9 in consecutive games, and now lets that single pin slide by.
I didn't see him down in practice, but I think one of the things that people do tend to do, you're talking about while you're waiting for your match to come on, is that you're so worried about getting ball reaction and being comfortable that you don't shoot enough spares over there. And as somebody as experienced as Belmonte is, I doubt that he went somewhere and did not.
Fans, one more time,
shoot any
please
spares,
place those cell phones in silent mode.
But an unusual error that we don't see much of anymore.
So Sherman gets the reset. Technically, no shot clock here on these flow bowling events, but if Kirk Von Kruger thinks a player would be taking an inordinate amount of time, he might tell him to speed it up a bit. But you heard Kirk there telling Kyle to take your time after the interruption. And down to the 3-step.
There we go.
And that's the first ball he's throwing in the lane. He had 0 practice, while Belmonte had 4 shots to make some changes in the oil pattern with that urethane ball.
What a lot of players do when they win a slow down is they'll move up on the approach. Well, from where he was before to move up on the approach, he would also have to move 3 or 4 left to create some more angle, and that got him to where the ball return was in the way. He's one of the players that does not like to drift tons left, and so he'll just get up in front of it and basically throw a 3-step release.
That was looking iffy all the way to the front of that 2-pin. And
I wasn't sure there if that was going to. There was a spot there at about the 23 to 25 feet that if it had picked up there like it did on the left lane when it went Brooklyn,
that would have been sending the 2-pin in the 10-pin zone and no chance on the 8. I think he finally exhaled after that spare right there. Took a second.
Just to feel okay. Got a couple of lineup shots. You can see the pin on that ball, depending on an axis rotation. For quote-unquote normal tracks, that would be like a 6.5 inch pin. Cause a little lower axis rotation player. You got a lower track, not a lower axis rotation. So that's still a fairly strong pin.
Shove that 4 down as Sherman
by 12.
puts another strike on the board on the left lane. He's really got his work cut out, though, on lane 28. And I don't think he's going to get another mistake from Belmo anytime soon, like Jason made in the second frame. Get there! He got there, just didn't knock it over.
It's almost like the pins didn't know who threw that.
They must have mistaken him for a league bowler here at Parkside
The
Lanes.
angle was way closer to my angle of entry, so that's probably where the confusion happened. But
not going to do it twice, is he? Didn't think so.
sometimes it's just Murphy's Law. Once you miss one, it seems inevitable that they're gonna make you shoot one until you make one. And so now that that's out of the way, although that's got to be a little disconcerting. It's one of the hard things to do with urethane, is because when you throw it slower and you hit it harder, it doesn't make it hook more down lane. It makes it hook more in the front of the lane. Playing that straight, it can be a little bit tricky to figure out what the right move is compared to what your normal reactive ball moves are.
Well, here's the thing too. Everybody sees the hole in the ball. Obviously, Jason not using his thumb. USBC rules still allow for about another 11 months weight holes in bowling balls. Is that going to really affect how these players can use urethane, like Jason?
Oh,
that
didn't have any trouble.
No.
You know, there's some theories out there that it's going to make some difference, but I don't think it. Honestly, I don't think it's going to change who's the best players are.
Sure.
At all. I think it's going to make weigh-ins relatively irrelevant. Mm-hmm. You can kind of eyeball them. And if a ball has 3 ounces at the top, every inch that it's shifted from the center of the grip is approximately 1 ounce. Anything within 3 inches of there is going to be pretty standardly within the spec.
Sherman has to combat that ball return once again on the right lane.
Up 12, chance to go to 22. Better shot.
That ball really seemed to lag about 4 feet farther than before.
There's just a spot down lane right as you get past the tracer. You see those tracers? That's at the 43-foot mark. Gets about right there. Right in front of it, it loses traction and looks like it accelerates again. Kind of what we'd say breaks loose and then tries to hook again. The left lane, I don't think from that same spot it doesn't lose its grip, and so that from there it also hooks through and goes through the pins a little better.
Sherman with a nice bounce back from his Wolf qualifying effort, as he ended up finishing in 45th position in that Wolf event, and to be able to get back from that far down and make his way, he'll be in the Illinois Open match play along with you and 22 other players tomorrow. That shows a little guttiness on Sherman's part, and there he takes advantage of a great shot on the right lane, 3 in a row, and a big lead over the #1 player in the FloBowling Power Rankings.
Yeah, I don't think he liked this one quite as much. Anytime his excellent balance, he will typically post up shots, and so he came off of it just a little forward with his upper body tilt, but that great hand and straight swing is enough to be able to let his ball still hook on that left lane.
Belmo in the Wolf Open. was 14th. And it's all about where that ball picks up its roll for Belmo right now.
Well, and that's just a couple boards left there, and he got a little bit softer. Last time he was up 8 and really much more direct from a lay down to through the arrows. Much less trajectory left to right. That time a little softer, created a little more shape there. The best chance for anyone in the field to beat him is going to be this match.
Belmo's going to start competition tomorrow in the Illinois Open match play in 6th place in those standings.
Wow.
6 boards overall hook for that ball, Chris?
Maybe. That was a little inside of target, I believe. We'll see it better off right here.
Sherman bowling 6th frame.
No, it wasn't quite as far left as I first appeared, but he's just moved everything a little bit left. Where he's broke down on the front of the lane. Urethane balls will use the front of the lane to open up area.
Okay.
Reactive balls will use the back of the lane to open up area.
So this is truly a battle of 60 feet between these two players right now because they're using entirely different areas of the lane to create the shape they want.
Well, literally the only spot they really cross is they don't really intersect until you get to 42, 43 feet down the lane.
Sherman to stay up by 22.
There we go.
Just enough, yes! That pin somehow managed to gain momentum on the way back to the right, and the 7-pin finally falls late. Take a look at that. Something hits it on the way into the pit and takes that 7-pin down.
I think that might have been the 2-pin, just giving a little shimmy on the way by. Cal Sherman's partner in crime, Brad Miller, also going to make the Illinois Open in 20th. EJ Johnson, our near miss qualifier, 5 pins short, qualified in there as well, although down towards the bottom. About 200 pins, 240 pins off of the top 5. But with 30 pins of bonus and 24 games, lots of things can happen. Left.
He likes that left lane. So he needs to keep finding the pocket on the right lane. Keep the pressure on Jason Belmonte. And he has really gotten that hand circling the bowling ball as compared to how we saw him start that match against Wes Malott.
Yeah, that's the difference between a ball you know is going to pick up versus one you have to, the GB3, he was using the create angle down lane, so he was getting his hand up the back of it to make it pick up in the mid lane. This ball picks up in the mid lane on its own. He has to circle it to make it keep going through the pins. Down 22, down 32. Chance to bring it back to 22.
Next person to blink may lose this match, because it has been nothing but strikes for the last 9 shots between these two players.
Kyle Sherman's max score, 280. Jason Belmonte's max score, 258. Which means, in layman's terms, Kyle Sherman still gets 1-9 spare.
Because he would hold on by 1.
He's allowed a good miss, provided he makes it.
There you see the owner in the gray shirt just in front of where Belmo's standing. Kurt Frieders. Want to thank him and his staff here at Parkside Lanes for all their hospitality in this FloBowling Summer Swing. Not happy with it.
It almost held, but that wasn't.
Yeah, that ball maybe got to 20 feet, and that foot stomp from Belmo, you heard it.
Yeah. A rare error on his part.
Did he just pull up on it a bit?
Yeah, he just came over the top of it. That.
Yeah, look at the reaction. And
body language tells it all. He almost got away with it, but.
Right at that 4-pin, no problem. Problem is for Belmonte, he's running out of frames, and
Sherman by 23.
Sherman can
Bowling 8-3.
really make this.
Yeah, he's stuck a little bit there too, and but knows he's in big trouble now. Max scored 237.
Yeah, there's
Sherman's
some
already
humidity
on a 240, basically, even with a miss, a 239 or 8 pace.
there. Yeah,
So-
humidity really picked up in the Aurora area this afternoon. They're expecting some scattered thunderstorms this evening, and this center's known for once the humidity hits, the approaches can get a little bit on the tacky side. Is it going to hold? Oh, it held. Wow, I thought it was going to come a little more flush to the pocket.
Yeah, the other lane that might have been needed to hold. That lane there, I thought that was an excellent shot. Kind of got caught a little bit of the wiggle there. Watch the 6-pin here as it crosses on 24. 6-pin wraps right around the bottom. Hard to stereotype a ringing 10 any more than that one. Oh.
That was Wolf. That would have been a miss.
That's probably correct. The guys shot straight at every hard spare on the planet and flushed them all, and then the 10th pin almost gave him a head fake there. That's why you're practicing at home. When you practice to double tap them, so when your misses still might make them. So, snares this. Still up 22. One thing that does happen here, though, is if he does not strike on this ball, Jason can put a little pressure on him in the 10th frame and make him throw a strike on at least one of 2 balls in the 10th.
Nothing but strikes so far in this lane. In this match against Belmonte, 4 for 4 for Sherman. Make it 5 for 5 as Sherman keeps the ball in his court.
Sherman by 22. Belmonte bowling 9th frame.
Yeah, I like that shot a lot better. Actually, probably a little surprised it didn't get all the way back up, but continued through maximum energy through the pins and sent him scattering.
Anthony Simonsen waiting in the wings for the winner of this match. We need to take 10 pins back, and nothing makes contact with the pin deck until after they all hit the curtain. That is a powerful strike.
Yeah, this one's actually about 1 inside of his target, but he's throwing it so good right now.
Oh, pardon me, the 3-pin, the head of the 3-pin made contact before falling the pin deck, but everything went just up and airborne on that great shot by Belmo.
Super high flush, 10 straight back. Regroup from the shot in the 8th frame here. All 3 in the 10th gives him 237. Sherman at 239 pace.
Six high off the sideboard. Gets the 10 down.
This is everything the last one in the 8th was not. This is perfect.
Yeah, to get that 6 to be so horizontal when it hit the 10, there was no chance for a wraparound on that first ball in the 10th. And Belmo, hey, here's a surprise. It's re-rack time, ladies and gentlemen.
This 10th frame might take a minute. I wouldn't be surprised. I would actually expect it if I was on the other side.
Right.
It's going to be...
It's 2 re-racks per game. It doesn't say when you have to take them.
No, he wants this one here. This one's a huge one because it shifts just a little bit of pressure.
Likes it. He liked that one. He was starting to walk it out, and that ball was at 4 feet, I think. He knew he absolutely labeled that ball.
Tells you how little the difference can be. Actually, when you watch that ball cross the arrows versus the one in the 8th that went high, they didn't look that much different from his hand going through the arrows, but how he came out of it and over the top of it made all the difference. Still a super important shot here. Right now, he'd really like to have that spare back and those extra 11 pins.
Every pin important on this ball. You could not pack 3 better shots in that 10th frame than Jason Belmonte did.
Kyle Sherman leads by 2 pins.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason why he was #1 in the power rankings on FloBowling for weeks, even without taking a ball at competition during the USBC Cup events earlier in August. Count here is irrelevant if he leaves any pins. It's a spare.
Spare 9 is a winner. Strike here will lock it up.
Looking for his 3rd strike of this game on the right lane. There it is. Did not look sure the entire time, but he rattled the 5 to the left, the 5 to the right, and the 5 finally falls down. And Kyle Sherman, that is a feather in your cap at any time in your career, taking out Jason Belmonte in a stepladder match. That doesn't happen very often. It hasn't happened much in 2019.
Yeah, this is actually just slightly inside of target. He wasn't so sure. Just needs a few pins now to lock this up. Matter of fact, I believe 5 will do it.
Online, more than enough. And Kyle Sherman is going to advance.
As Kyle Sherman defeats Jason Belmonte and will go on to face Anthony Simonsen in our semifinal match. Please give it up one more time for Jason Belmonte.
So we're going to get some practice for both our top seed, EJ Tackett, and for Anthony Simonsen. And let's take a look at the upcoming feature, Simonsen, Leave It Behind. It's coming to FloBowling.
First off, thank you, all of you. It means a lot that you guys came. We appreciate it. We've put a lot of hard work, sweat, tears into this film, but we really appreciate you guys coming out here. Enjoy. Simonsen, Leave It Behind.
We watched the Anthony Simonsen Leave It Behind documentary. I cried for the last 10 minutes of the video. I wasn't really quite prepared for all of that, but
you know, it was masterfully done, and I think that you got to see the real Anthony, and I think that a lot of people, when they get to know him, will love him like I do.
You know, there's a lot of 20-somethings out there, but his road is a little tougher than most. I thought I did a good job of showing some of that and why he's, you know, in some ways much more mature than the average young player.
What'd you think?
So it almost like taking a walk down memory lane, you know, not only with the movie itself, but processing, you know, everything through my head as I'm telling the story. And I'm looking forward to what you guys are going to do, you know, not only with myself, but the rest of the tour players in the future.
Bowling is an incredible sport to watch when you care about the competitors. And so having an opportunity to teach more people about who these guys are, these great players, who they are, will generate more fans that have the kind of rooting interest and the kind of the drama that PBA bowling provides will just be even sharper when you really know who these guys are.
From what I talked to everybody enjoys it, and I'm looking forward to hearing what the public has to say about it on September 4th.
And I really hope that all the bowling fans, all the FloBowling subscribers, make sure to put it on the calendar, September 4th, for the debut of Simonsen.
You can't go back and change what has already happened. Leave it in the past.
And there it is, Simonsen, Leave It Behind, coming to you on FloBowling beginning September 4th, noon Eastern Time. You can catch that great documentary on Anthony Simonsen, and he's going to be coming up next in our semifinal match. He'll be battling Kyle Sherman. And Chris, Kyle Sherman's come up clutch now, twice, 2/10 frames on that tough right lane. What's he going to do to have to keep that momentum going all the way through the rest of the step ladder?
Well, he's going to have to keep shooting big games, for one. You got two of the best guys in the world. I mean, this is literally a look at who's next, except these guys, it's not next, it's now. We got three of the youngest guys on tour, the most successful guys also on tour at the same time. It's a heavyweight battle of two guys that are really looking to make their mark.
Yeah, and Simonsen, he had an interesting way of playing the lanes all day today, and it looks like he's going to do that for the finals here too. Playing kind of a similar line to where Belmonte was, except using resin and really just firing off the hand.
Yeah, I have some responsibility there, unfortunately. I crossed him in the very first game. He was playing 20 like most of the guys with higher rev rates, and he had 57 in the fourth, and I had the front four, and I was using a dull ball and kind of trapping it off of 11-12, and he just went, well, that looks like a better one I'm doing. And he went over there and he got 216, and I ended up moving off of it, halfway through the next game, and he turned out to stay out there and wrecked him for the next, 6-7 games in a row. And so, but he's got his whole toolbox accessible to him right now. He's really clicking. He's got his timing on point, and we've seen some of the best of it. He's making huge moves on the wolf from pair to pairs, and again, playing what would be considered probably his D or E game, and lapping the field.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Simonson's going to finish off his practice. A couple of minutes, we'll get started with Anthony Simonsen against Kyle Sherman, semifinal match here. PBA Bear Open, part of the FloBowling Summer Swing. So there we see our stepladder to this point. Kyle Sherman, 2 matches in the books. 207 in the opening match against Wes Malott, 247 in match number 2 against Jason Belmonte. And both times Sherman clutch when he needed in the 10th. You look at what Simonsen's done, not just here on the bear pattern, but since he walked in the door here on Monday with the wolf pattern, and Sherman's got to have that just sitting out there. I got to jump out on Simonsen early and not let up.
PBA Bear Open, presented by the brands of Ebonite International. Thank you.
Hey, here's a surprise. They're making Sherman go first.
It seems like that's the natural thing to do, but it hasn't worked out for anybody so far.
And interesting here, as with the USBC Cup points that were earned by players that didn't make the stepladder at this point, nobody can pass Sean Rash for the lead in this event, but Kyle Sherman is the player that can come the closest. If Sherman wins this event, he's only going to be 70 points or so behind Rash getting into the Illinois Open. And if he keeps throwing it like that, Kyle Sherman might be taking out that 2,500 points for the USBC Cup tonight, along with that $10,000.
It sounds crazy for a guy who just shot 248, but that's one of the best shots he's thrown all day. Had the right shape, better rotation around it. That ball went through the pins perfect. Now we'll get an idea. You can see that taller pin, idle. Low RG ball, symmetrical.
And somebody get a fire extinguisher ready, because that ball is just smoking down the lane.
And basically, Anthony's strategy is going to be just get 2 or 3 boards inside of where Belmonte was, use that friction in the front to get his ball to face up, and then he's just going to throw it hard and keep its rotation end over end so it doesn't change his directions nearly as much as it normally does for him.
You know, everybody's giving Player of the Year pretty much to Belmonte, but if Simonsen can win here, Illinois Open, and U.S. Open, that could change the status of that, because that would give Simonsen 2 majors as well. Yes, it's a long way to go, but you can't exactly etch in the name on the trophy yet for Belmonte. But this tournament has a lot to do with it, in my opinion.
Well, sure, let's go with that.
I mean, they could both end up with the season with 5 titles and in 2 majors.
They could. One of them is already there.
Yes.
The other one has to have everything possible in the world happen right. So in theory, yes, you're right. Yeah. It's possible. Your name could become $100 Phil also.
Thank you for putting me right back in my place, Chris. I deserve it. Sherman looking for the double. Rat 10 says, not this time, Kyle Sherman. Better quality shot than what we've seen in that right lane from Kyle a couple times last game.
Yeah, you're right. That's the best shape he's had on the right lane in several shots. To be fair, it is much more likely that Anthony and Mike win 3 in a row. That your name being changed to $100 Phil,
but it all has to start with this title tonight.
Yeah, first things first, he's going to have to get by Sherman, who's dispatched everyone. The difference being is this is the first time he's been behind in a match at any point. So early leads, as often is the case in stepladders in one-game formats.
They have a good tendency to hold on. I'll have to go back and analyze 60 years of PBA stepladders and see how that's actually happened. How many thousands of games we would have to go through just to get that information.
Oh, see, that's what Jeff Goodger, he's a crack research analyst. I imagine we might have that by the end of the show.
Okay.
He's oh, that's right. He's running the show. Yeah. Never mind. Oh, this Lucas. Let's make Lucas do it.
Sherman hasn't missed in a while on this lane, and that 6-pin blocked the momentum of that late messenger from knocking the 10 over. Watch that messenger come back, and the 6 stops it from taking the 10 down. Right there.
It was actually the 4-pin got tapped by the head pin, got over that, and that's what stopped from getting all the way over with any kind of momentum. It's been catching most of those hits. A couple of one bad break with the 10-pin on the right lane, and then now doubling up. Simonson's going to have a chance to jump out to a little bit of an early lead.
On top of that
one. It's hard enough to run a ladder anyway, but when the ladder consists of Malott, Belmonte, Simonsen, and Tackett.
Future Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer. Yeah.
It might not be who you would pick. Sounds like a fantasy draft.
Nothing to fantasize about that strike. That was a no-doubter out of Simonson's hand.
Just a little bit inside of Belmonte's line. The advantage of using reactive, and especially a shiny one like that, is he can clear that front part of the lane much easier than Jason did. The trick is then not catch any of the jet wash from Belmonte's urethane ball. Already up by 21, chance to take it to 31.
No doubt. Absolutely no doubt for his first 4 from Simonsen. Now here, some people that might be new to the sport might be thinking to themselves, well, if they don't want the ball to hook, why are they wiping the oil off the ball every time when it comes back? Because oil on the ball is not going to let it hook.
Well, you want a consistent surface each time. And you want to start with it the same way, end with it the same way. And the only way to get it that way is to use basically it's an oil-free type chamois, which takes probably 98% of the oil off each time. The other added benefit to using one of those is the less oil that soaks into a ball, the longer that ball will retain its original intended shape. So not a bad habit to be in anyway. Now Sherman, 2 10-pins here, has to get back on it. Slow.
It looked kind of thumbed down on the release.
It just looked like he hung in it a little bit, and then the end result, sometimes that can happen when you're 3-stepping there, is it just got up in the air. I think you called it perfectly. He got it up in the air and then his hand rotated over the top, and so between being slow and more axis rotation, there's just no chance for it to stay. Somewhat fortunate just to leave a 3-6.
But once again, with the oil on the outside of this pattern, you don't want to leak it right out of your hand on a 3-6.
At this point, all the top players, there's many different patterns that you play on. The 32-foot wall, if you hook in spares, you basically have no chance. That's too many things. If you tried to hook at a 3-6 on this pattern, it's so easy to miss it going right, or to cut it off a little bit and have it hook in the middle. It's why the junior players around the world that are bowling junior gold in these higher level competitions on tough patterns are looking to shoot spares straight from the get-go and not using that crutch as an opportunity. When the patterns are softer, yeah, you can hook at pins that are typically 1 pin, 2 and 3, 5, 8, 9 type lead pins. They're easier to make, but on tougher patterns, there's no percentage in hooking at them.
Cal Sherman's parents made their way up from the St. Louis area, and another phone.
Somebody's alarm is going off, I think is what it is.
Nothing going off in the kitchen here, so that's good.
Somebody took responsibility for it. I'm not sure what the deal was, but even as long as it doesn't happen early in the middle of your approach, you can just reset, and it's no harm, no foul. So, but down 33, must get back on the strike train before Anthony gets away from him. Better shot.
Take that, 10-pin. If you try to stand against the might of Kyle Sherman, that head pin will come back and slay you like a dragon.
He got around that one a lot, and still the ball is struggling to kind of get all the way up the hill. I wouldn't be surprised if he switches over to, I believe that's a juke that he's got there. So, situation's this, 33, chance to go to 43.
Likes it. That 5-pin got hit from 7 different directions at once.
Yeah, that one he got a little bit more left to right, but well within what he was trying to do. I think he thought that was going to get all the way to flush. The fact that it only got to there might be somewhat disconcerting if it didn't look like it. He threw an 18-pound ball at him. Front 5, 43-pin lead.
Wow. That is the kind of strike that goes on the cover of a bowling textbook.
This is something else. And I think what gets overlooked a lot, and Belmonte and Simonsen are both showing it, is the overall versatility that the best two-handers have. It's not just power. It's not just creating rev rate. It's still controlling it the same way that players with their thumb have done for for decades.
Well, we learned about Simonsen's creativity last year when he took down the title at the Gene Carter Pro Shop Classic. Let's just use the left side of the lane. And he took out a lefty, Matt Sanders, in that title match. Tell you what, Sherman's had a heck of an August to this point. Finished 17th in Chesapeake, 5th, just missing the stepladder in Wilmington, and 12th in Delaware at the Gene Carter Pro Shop Classic. Got a little bit of cold watered last week as a 45th place finish kept him away from the pay window. But Sherman bouncing off that 45th place finish in the Wolf pair and to kick off the FloBowling Summer Swing. And looking to stay close in this match, down by 43 with just 4 frames remaining.
It's a 6-inch pin, I've been told, even though that thing looks like it's out in the atmosphere. It seems to me this ball's getting a little bit lazy. He's too late in the match to really make a ball change. He's got to find a way to get it to go through him.
Is it circling it more than he already has been? Apparently. Circle it with some loft and put an X on the board.
That's exactly right. He's feeling the same thing too, so it's not going through him. So he gets the ball up in the air a little bit. That ball gets out over the dots, about 6 feet down the lane, and now all of a sudden it looks like a new ball again. It goes through the pin, splits the 8-9, picture perfect.
You mentioned so many different adjustments and ways the two-handers can play the lane. Kyle Sherman going in his bag of tricks as well to try to stay close.
Wow.
What, was there a 6-pin in that rack? Because I think it vaporized before it got to the 10-pin area. Let's take another look.
Look around the 2 rings of the 10-pin. You'll see it go by.
Had to pick the narrow part of the pin to go around.
That was high quality stuff right there.
Still up by 42 with a conversion. Well, the $1,000 FloBowling and PBA bonus for a perfect game in a FloBowling live streamed championship round, safe for another game.
Deficit cut to 32. Max score still obviously 279. Sherman's max score 257.
He hollered back off on that one, and it did.
He's begging for it to do something, and it goes through the pins like this. It's not good news.
I mean, he goes back off and it hits pure.
Well, the one he thought he threw perfect wearing 10, and the one he threw, you know, maybe a 90%er.
You guys don't have a touring psychologist out here with you on occasions like that is absolutely beyond me.
Well, I've been thinking about going in as a kind of a Tony Robbins guy, a positive mental approach kind of guy. Seems like, yeah, maybe not my strength. My strike situation. Push. Wow.
Bounces around the left side of the rack.
That did more than push a little. Wow. And that's the difference between the left and right lane from in there.
Is that just
right about here? I thought it was in trouble when it picked up, and then it pushed again down there in that 43, 44, 45 foot range, and it didn't even. No, it did not even threaten to go high. It actually went light shaker.
Is that just topography coming into play, or is that just the different ways all these players have busted down the lanes?
It might be a little topography,
Okay.
a little bit of the urethane.
Okay.
In the end, you have to throw all that away and just go, okay, it's just a little tighter. It doesn't really matter the hows and the whys. This is the ball I'm going to throw. This is the one I'm going to try and do. Get it up in the air a little bit. Get it to come around the corner.
This is the foundation frame, and the only way that Sherman has a chance to build the victory is with a strike on this shot.
Gotta go.
And the ever deadly 1-5.
Well, and this is what happens when you get a few too many tricks going at the same time, is it brings some other things into play that would not normally be. He thought he got 0 there for a minute. But
Yeah, he knew it when that ball was at the arrows that there was no way it was coming back from that far right.
I think his max score down to 235. Simonson's not home yet, but he's in pretty good shape. Significantly bringing up his career percentage at the 1.5.
Let me check the PBA record books here for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first live stream conversion for Sherman this year on the 1.5. That has been confirmed. Thanks to Jeff Goodger, doubling as statistician this evening. Well, no change to the game plan here from Simonsen.
No. He still has a little work to do. Strike here would pretty much wrap things up.
Nothing but shrapnel left as that ball takes 10 down.
Well, and 6 on his next shot will let him advance to the final.
And then will Simonsen be able to get a little payback for Tuesday night? Simonsen was the top seed going into the final match. Sean Arash took him down. This time, EJ Tackett, the defending champion of this bear event, waiting in the wings. And Simonsen's got a chance to play spoiler. All I know is if you're going anywhere but into your FloBowling browser for that final match, you're not thinking right, because it is going to be one heck of a championship round. Anthony Simonsen, EJ Tackett, they're going to be coming up next here as the PBA Bear Open will determine its title list after the next match.
Anthony Simonsen, final score 278. 278.
Why not end with a flourish as Sherman converts to 210, but he goes down to Anthony Simonsen's 278 game. And let's take a look at Anthony Simonsen. Chris Barnes, every shot almost exactly the same except for that vicious 10-pin back in the 7th frame.
Just a couple of light shakers on the right lane, which is the tighter lane, and it was 10 back every time on the left lane. And that one right there costing him a shot at a 300 game. This was the one he probably liked the least of all of them. And
there you see the reaction.
Hang in there, kid. Hope something good happens. Holy cow.
Well, and then here's the thing as we go along here. What do you do if you're EJ Tackett coming in this match? You know, right now you know that your opponent just put up 270. You know it's probably going to take 250 to win this thing. What can you do?
Yeah, I mean, one of the toughest things to do, though, is throw a huge score, take a little break, and come back on that very same pair and throw another huge score following yourself. You're going to follow your own transition. With all that rev rate, there will be some small changes. So I would be surprised if Anthony shot 278 or 9 again.
Okay.
I think it's probably closer to 248 or so. But what EJ is going to have to do is get out of the gates. His first 3 shots have to be on point, keep some pressure on Anthony. Otherwise, it could be over before he can ever get settled in on the lane.
Yeah, and EJ Tackett, he's basically used one ball this entire Bear qualifying 20-game block, and he's had a lot of success with it, averaging over 235 with it. Doesn't seem to be looking at his practice right now. He's still in that same ball. And can you get too comfortable in the ball after 20 games? Could it find him some trouble here?
I would say for a lot of people that could be part of the case. But EJ he's kind of like the new Walter Ray guy. The new ball comes out. He throws it that week pretty much no matter what. Makes the show most of the time anyway. And then, moves on the next week. And if that doesn't work, then he throws the 6-year-old ball. I mean, he's got immense talent. He's got off-the-charts skill sets. Underrated probably bowling IQ as far as knowing how to move around on the lane and has pretty good touch. It's not all just rev rate with him either. And so he's got his hands full. It is a title match. There's always a lot of extra adrenaline. Those first 3 shots, I think, determine this whole thing.
So we're going to let EJ Tackett finish his last couple of practice shots here, and we're going to start with that championship match here momentarily for the PBA Bear Open, part of the FloBowling Summer Swing. So there you see the stepladder to this point. Sherman gets through the first 2 matches, but falls to the wayside as Simonsen lays waste to the pins with a 278 game. And EJ Tackett and Anthony Simonsen will take to this championship match.
We are so close to this.
And we are going to let Kirk Von Kruger take you through the start of this match.
So many polite higher seats tonight. EJ has graciously allowed Anthony Simonsen to start the championship match. All right, fans, one more game for all the marbles. Please, let's hear it from you guys. Good luck, bowlers.
And there we get the words. It's championship match time here from Parkside Lanes in Aurora. And Anthony Simonsen will be starting this match against EJ Tackett.
Well, if there's any question about which lane is the better lane, at least perceptually, it can be answered by the fact that every player coming on the lane has let the other guy finish on the right lane. Nobody wants to finish on the right one, and just got to get the arrows switched around.
Sometimes players like to avoid finishing the match last. That's not the case for either one of these guys. They are more of ball in hand type players when it comes down to wanting to win a championship. So definitely down to what lane they think is better. Ooh.
Yeah, I would call both these guys gamers.
Simonsen with a 3rd look back at the pins to make sure it was a fast 8. Yeah, I can't believe it's still there. What happened?
And that lane definitely picked up earlier for him last match. You could see it that way, but coming off the end of that bear pattern there, you see on your right, he wants it to get just around that last tracer going down the lane. EJ got 8 shots of practice in there, got the lane to break down just a little bit, and lo and behold, look what we have here. That's not the new ball.
That
he's going with a Jackal Ghost.
So that's a couple model years old, and he's definitely taking the straighter approach than we saw during the Cashers round. I mean, towards the end of that Cashers round, it was sliding the left gutter and just let it peel out to about 6th or 7th board.
Well, with that much rev rate going down right of 3rd arrow, there's not really any reason not to take advantage of it. There's going to be enough early hook there. He should be able to throw it right into it fairly quickly. Sherman was so far left of that, he basically didn't touch the lane once they got past. Well, even West they were both in left of 20, even in game 1.
And once again, Both these players showing how multifaceted they are, and they're just taking what the lane's giving them right now.
A solid asymmetrical ball, and it's a great point. You have 8 shots, and sometimes those extra 2 shots you get as the leader over what the rest of the guys get is 6. That's an excellent use of practice because he made a ball change and got lined up all inside of that time. And he's done exactly what he needs to do to have a chance against Anthony Simonsen.
Simonsen taking another look that time. I don't know if something's catching his eye out to
the
side.
I really think the deal is that EJ ended up so much closer to him than expected that he's made both of his shots hook considerably more than what he thought they would.
Yeah. Yeah, you see the reaction right there. I guess that was a good shot.
He looked left first. Yeah.
I'm in pain just watching as hard as these guys are firing right now.
Lane, are you playing a video game on that phone? Oh, somebody tap him on the shoulder. Please put your phone away, sir. Thank you very much.
There we go.
Take your time. Thank you.
There was somebody down that left side of the lane that was checking out their cell phone. And apparently some flashes from that cell phone were catching Simonsen. To stay perfect through 3.
Now, I think one of the biggest advantages that two-handers have is their ability to create axis rotation and keep it going in the lane. One of the things with EJ having his thumb in it is that he creates that same rev rate that they do with two hands, but he does it with an end-over-end roll, which reads the lane a little bit differently. It allows him to throw it right a little faster and blend the lane out that way. That ball for a lot of players would have been in trouble, would have got too long, maybe missed the head pin right. For him, just ran the 8-pin over.
Run 4. And one thing that's important to EJ, he's never won a title twice in the same building in his career, and he really wants to do it here at Parkside Lanes because he did the Parkside Lanes Extra Frame Open Championship last year. And he wants that Champions Dinner here once again at the end of this event. I think my you need 250 to win predictions coming around right now.
Looks like
Holy
you're
cow.
closer than I was. The interesting part for Simo was when he caught pairs that hooked more, he just threw it harder. He didn't move left and do a traditional power player / non-power player move. He just got up against it a little bit more and got a little more end over end and made it stay there. That's what I saw there in the left lane last time. See if he does it again.
6 does the job on the 10.
And that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like a little less axis rotation. He's just throwing it harder and making it stay right there in that same spot.
This is EJ Tackett's 6th stepladder of 2019 with 0 titles to this point. This year, best finish was in the Tournament of Champions at AMF Riviera in Fairlawn, Ohio, where Belmonte took out Tackett in the championship match. Get there, no. And if you watch the replay of this, you're going to see that head pin missed by a good 6 or 8 inches to the front.
Yeah, it catches the 4-pin. It looks like as it came off the wall and it got shoved back forward. Yeah, EJ, after having a great 2017, had a little wrist injury. He switched from 16 down to 15. Had to make a couple of adjustments and went through a little 3 or 4 month period where he didn't bowl at the level that we've become accustomed to seeing from him. But ever since then, they said it hasn't translated into wins on TV yet. But man, he's making a lot of shows, and week in, week out, his floor just keeps getting higher and higher.
Yeah. EJ does have a win this year, but it was in that invitational event, the PBA Tour Finals, so that did count for a PBA Tour title. But he's yet to take a title out of a conventional PBA format event here in 2019. That was a strike where nothing touched the pin deck on the way off.
Thought that went up in the air just a little bit more.
Has a 1-pin lead. Bowling 6th frame.
I say, you know, loft was a tool that you saw lots of players use in the 80s when you're bowling on some wood surfaces and things like that. Well, now you're getting synthetic surfaces that are 10, 15, 20 years old. Some of the newer synthetic surfaces actually have a little texture to them. Loft is becoming a big tool again out here on the PBA Tour.
Needs to push, and it does.
I don't think there's any worries on that lane about getting it to push.
Take an extra look here, and he just labels it.
Yeah.
11. What is that? 12 to 10.
Yeah, he's not using much shape. He's pushing the ball through there pretty good, keeping it going forward so it doesn't change directions a lot. And that spot that looked like wiggle, or where Sherman's ball would lose traction, is just nothing but hold for him. Up by 11. Just go to 21.
Oof. That 6-pin just did absolutely nothing when the 3-pin made contact with it.
Clunk. So.
Well, Simonsen can't take over the USBC Cup points lead even with a win tonight. That's going to remain with Sean Rash for at least 2 more days till we know the Illinois Open results. But EJ Tackett get himself in the second on that points list with a win here.
A little bit of surprise, throwing at that speed and that many revs, with that RPM rate, that it could hit, and basically the 6-pin die in the gutter. Like we talked about earlier, we saw more of those flat 10s here on some hits where normally these guys just make them look like shrapnel. And it's just how hard is the head pin going to come back across and hit it.
Now we've seen a few pin-up balls for people, but EJ using a pin under the fingers on this ball. He's making it work nicely.
He's down 10 going in. That ties him back up, and with this, he'll have a chance to go back up by 10. What that pin down does for EJ is allows him to stay a little closer to the friction. Ball will not flare as much with the pin underneath the bridge as opposed to above it. Will also be a little smoother off the break point. Allows him to use his rev rate and not have to open up the angle so far.
And that gutsy call he made after using a different ball for 20 games in this event prior to his Stepladder final is paying off to this point, and continues to pay off in the 8th frame.
And that's on purpose. You can tell he's feeling that early hook in the front of the lane that Anthony had too. He's consistently lofting it just a little bit further right there, just to the dots, 6 feet out of the lane. Eliminates that little early check spot for him in the front. Man, and the ball just runs the 8-pin over.
I can see
back up by 10.
Tackett's fiance, Natalie Goodman, in the crowd trying to get up on her toes every time on the shot when it's hitting the pins. Shrapnel.
That's probably the furthest right he's gotten any shot there, and with relatively little angle. Wasn't really in danger of going light, but sliding about 17 with the inside of his left foot.
Yeah, that 10-pin had 0 chance if it tried to stand.
Actually hit a little bit lighter than the last time on the left lane. So we did see some racks. There's been a few re-racks on this left lane over time. Now max score 269. EJ's max score 279. Down by 10. Chance to pull even here with a strike.
He's got to pour some concrete with his foundation frame strike. Otherwise, it could be all Tackett. He was off balance at the line and still got it to hold. Wow.
He stayed with it just long enough. That was a little inside of target.
The match is now even.
That one had some heat on it.
Boy, we thought people had something to talk about with those Wolf finals here in Aurora the other night. They've taken that show level up another notch here tonight. in this championship match.
Tell how hard he's trying to throw that. He's up on his toes after he throws it. EJ selling in here. Strike to take back the lead.
And EJ was a little off balance at the line as well. Double and one, right, Chris?
That's the deal. Great shot here.
I mean,
both players, the amount of force generated by two guys that are under 5'7".
Tackett's slide foot was parallel to the foul line. He's giving so much effort through that shot. That 8 teased him. That 8 was there for a fraction of a second until it went down. Take an extra look at that last pin to fall.
Well, that will put him at least in the 260s. That shot right there will force Anthony Simonsen to double at least in the 10th. But this one here will lock him out. For the win.
Outright, no roll on the 2, and Simonsen has life.
Just a little quick into the swing.
And he can't afford to throw away the spare either. You got to pick this one up.
He needs a spare, because then there's something. Simonsen's max score 269. With the spare, Simonsen will need all 3 in the 10th to win by 1.
Hold on. Oh, my. You don't ever want to make it easier for any player to win a title.
EJ Tackett bowls a 267 games and leads by 8 pins. Simonsen bowling 10th rate.
There you see the Simonsen just going into the inner self right now. There's nothing but him, a ball, and 10 pins.
Double and 9 for the win.
First one makes it happen.
Absolutely super high quality shot making by both these guys. The one air, the second one, the 10th by EJ after a nearly perfect game. That shot puts Simonsen in the 250s.
Checking the sole, checking the heel, and online.
You think this kid has any moxie to him? He's 23 years old, bowling for a title. Throws 2 great shots. No reaction. I mean, kept himself as low-key as possible. 9 or better is a win.
Tackett just absolutely behind himself, but there's nothing you can do now. And you got to get right back to competition tomorrow, EJ Tackett. There's another title on the line here at the FloBowling Summer Swing. Let's take care of this first title first. That's left. EJ Tackett has new life as we are down to a 1-ball roll-off. Now Tackett gets lane choice and order choice in this roll-off. If you're EJ Tackett, Chris, what are you doing right now?
That's a good question. I think I would probably
go
first. and I would go back on that right
The
lane.
higher seated player will have choice of starting lane and order.
Make him go on the lane that he just missed on.
EJ is elected to start on the right lane. Both players will bowl in the same lane.
Yep.
If the tie remains after that first ball, they'll alternate back and forth in the same order
And the reason for going on the right lane?
until that tie is broken.
If there's
How about a round of applause
obviously
for
there's not
these
much
guys?
down. These guys have thrown a ton of strikes on both lanes. But Anthony just made his worst shot of the game right there. You're going to hope that he wants to make sure he gets it to the right, maybe forces it by it, maybe get lucky and he just leaves a little shaker 10. First things first, he's got to strike.
And with new life comes a strike for Tackett.
It's a pretty impressive regroup. He obviously thought he was going to lose there.
I mean, Tackett was
running the whole gamut of emotions. So now it's Anthony's turn. He's got to regroup. He had the title in his hands, let it slip away. Now can he come up and try and re-grab it?
better ball. Gets him to go. And over to the left lane, we slide.
It's actually super impressive. Once you throw the other shot, there's so much tendency to try and force it to go where you want it to go, and you don't throw it quite as pure, quite as loose. A ringing 10, a half 10. It's easy for him to go half pocket on that right lane. So far, he's carried all of them.
Speaking about half pocket, it was worse than that last time for Tackett on this lane as he left a 2-pin. And that's the correction from the last time on that lane.
And that's why I didn't want to go back on that lane, I think, to start with, because he got a little quick and forward. He guarded against the same miss. That one was a little slow, not quite as far out on the lane. Said we're really micromanaging here, but with that much rev rate, a little short, maybe a foot and a half short down, maybe 0.2, 0.3 slower. 4-pin. Now Simonsen with an opportunity to win. Strike to win, 9 to tie, anything less.
Could this be the 7th title for Simonsen? Yes, it is. Gets them all in a mix. And that is an incredible victory for Anthony Simonsen. Had the chance to lock it up in regulation, fell short, battled through 2 balls on a roll-off, and you see Anthony Simonsen stunned and in somewhat disbelief as well that he's picking up that trophy here as the winner of this PBA Bear Open, and a little bit of comeuppance from Tuesday night, from when he lost that championship match to Sean Rash. But the job here not done for Anthony Simonsen. He's your #1 qualifier when we begin Illinois Open coverage tomorrow. And we will get back here. And let's get it to Chris Barnes on the lanes for the interview with our winner.
I'd like to introduce Kurt. Kurt is the proprietor here at Parkside Lanes, and he has some hardware to give to Anthony Simonsen.
How was that for a match, everybody? Give these guys one round of applause. I'd just like to congratulate both of them, both great champions in their own right. Thank you for giving us a thrilling match. Thank you for being here. It just doesn't get any better than this. Really hard-earned victory by beating one of the best, by one of the best. Congratulations, Anthony.
Thank you, Kurt. I'm going to turn it over to Chris Barnes. Chris, it's all yours, pal.
Well, Kurt said it all. That was a heck of a match. What was going through your mind there at the end?
You know, I was at the right lane. I wouldn't say getting tricky, but I felt like I was losing my look. That last shot situation, knew once we got into, if he gave me another chance, I wasn't going to be able to let him. Actually, he's going to step on your throat.
See if that works better. So, did you think you were going to even have a chance to win going into that last frame?
Honestly, no. His ball reaction was great. I mean, really, I honestly thought once I 10-pinned in the 7th frame, whatever it was on the left lane, I thought our match was going to be 270 to 260, and it was 260, 260. I was fortunate enough to come out in the roll-off.
Man, some great shots down the stretch, showing why you're one of the best action match guys on the planet. And we got to see a little bit of a tease of your video. What's going through? Is that playing any part of your great performance so far this week?
Jason spoke in that video a little bit, and for him to go as public as he did with some of the comments he said, we've spoke privately about some things. It's definitely given me a different mindset onto the lanes, and I really do think that that's helped with my success this week.
Well, congratulations on your 7th title. Man, at 23, it's pretty amazing the start you've had. 22. Makes it even worse. Yeah, you're an old guy. My bad. At 22 years old, the maturity you show out here is pretty amazing. And on behalf of the FloBowling crew, show up tomorrow. Watch on FloBowling to see the Illinois Open match play round robin, starting at noon Eastern and 6 Eastern. Thanks tonight, and our new 2019 Bear champion, Anthony Simonsen.
Thank you, Chris.